What is up, weather enthusiasts? I'm your host, Pat's Path Predictor. Let's get right into the weather. Alright, so this is the situation we have right here. A lot has happened since yesterday. We had this Hurricane Fiona. It made landfall in Puerto Rico, and then last night it made landfall in the Dominican Republic, and now it has just moved out to sea. The eye has now moved out to sea. Convection has started to improve once again. Let's go ahead and show you the forecasted discussion right here, the public advisory. So basically, we now have a hurricane warning for the Turks and Caicos, and I feel really bad for not doing this earlier, but I am issuing a code yellow, which means, for the Pat's Path Predictor channel, a code yellow means we are expecting a Category 1 or Category 2 hurricane landfall or hurricane force winds to be impacting a certain area in the next 24 to 48 hours. So whenever a hurricane warning goes out, we're going to issue the code yellow, which that means we are still issuing the code yellow for the Dominican Republic. We're issuing it for the Turks and Caicos here on the Pat's Path Predictor channel as well. And I feel really bad because I didn't do this earlier, so I do apologize for that. But with that being said, this is expected to become a major hurricane, and there are a lot of models of this thing making landfall as a hurricane of around Category 2 strength of this thing making landfall in Newfoundland right there. So this thing could potentially be another Hurricane Larry for those of you who are in the Newfoundland, Nova Scotia area. So you'll have to pay attention this week from what's going on. We have reports of catastrophic damage in Puerto Rico right now. I have to touch on this because this is a very serious situation. Hurricane Fiona roared over the Dominican Republic after knocking power out across Puerto Rico, causing damage the governor said was, quote, catastrophic. Up to 30 inches was forecast for Puerto Rico's southern region. 15 inches were projected for the Dominican Republic. It's not over. We still have rain going on right now if we take a look at the satellite. Even with that, you can still see there is rain going on, at least in the eastern half of Puerto Rico right now. So that's where we're at. Flooding has reached historic levels, with authorities evacuating and rescuing hundreds of people across the island. Hurricane conditions were continuing over portions of the Dominican Republic. It actually made landfall in the Dominican Republic earlier. If we take a look at the archive right here, let's pull it up. This is it right here. This is at 3:35 a.m. Atlantic Standard Time or Eastern Daylight Time. It's the same time zone, but it made landfall at 3:30 a.m. Maximum sustained winds were actually at 90 miles per hour when it made landfall. And there was a sustained wind report of 51 miles per hour and a gust of 79 miles per hour. It has now come back down to 85 miles per hour. The reason being is pretty obvious land interaction. But now that it's moved out to sea, we could potentially see a third landfall in this part of the Dominican Republic before it fully moves out to sea and starts impacting Bermuda and the Turks and Caicos Islands. With that being said, we're going to show you what's fueling this thing. There is 28-degree warm water fueling this hurricane right now. And even though the wind shear hasn't been that impressive, we're looking at 25 to 30 knots of wind shear right here. It doesn't really matter. It still progressed nevertheless. This thing was sheared as a sheep when it was approaching the Lesser Antilles, and it's still strengthened. This thing has defied convention. This was only supposed to be a 45-mile-per-hour tropical storm. Not a lot of people realize this because of how big of a story this has become. But this was supposed to be like half the strength it was. And this was supposed to be a tropical depression after impacting the Hispaniola. The exact opposite has happened, and we've faced the consequences from that. So that goes to show, expect the unexpected every single time. You know why I take the hurricane season so seriously? It's because of stuff like this. That's why I take it so seriously. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get to the track models and intensity. Majority of the track models now 5 days out have this thing making landfall in Canada right here, making landfall at least somewhere in Newfoundland. So this could be another Hurricane Larry situation we're talking about right here, folks. So this is the situation we're looking at, and this thing could make landfall as a Category 2 hurricane, folks. And that's what's so concerning about this, because this thing is far from over. Even though it's going to be out to sea for the next few days, the Turks and Caicos are going to see hurricane force winds. Bermuda could potentially see the eyewall of this thing as this moves by the island right there. And then we have Canada, which has infrastructure that isn't really built for hurricanes. It's more built for winter weather. And this thing could be impacting it as such. And even though the water gets cooled, it's going to be moving at such a speed that it won't matter. And the intensity models really kind of reflect on this as well. The intensity models have this thing going up to Category 3 strength. I have the estimate at 105 to 120 miles per hour. That's where I'm holding the estimate right now until I see further data saying otherwise. But that's pretty much where we're at right now. After the landfall in Canada, weakened significantly due to land interaction and the cold waters afterward. So that's where we're at. Let's go ahead and run a few model runs right here for you guys. We're going to go ahead and start with the GFS, then we'll do the HMON, then HWRF. The GFS has been pretty interesting. It has it moving towards the Turks and Caicos right there, strengthening, intensifying. The eyewall of this thing is potentially going to hit Bermuda right here, ladies and gentlemen, in the next 4 days. And then this thing moves extremely fast. It moves, I don't know the exact speed, but this has to be moving at like 50 to 60 miles per hour at this point. And then it moves, makes landfall in Newfoundland right here as either a Category 2 hurricane or potentially a very organized extratropical cyclone. We're not entirely sure what's going to happen when it comes to that, but we do know the transition is going to occur as it's approaching Canada. We're not sure if it'll fully transition, but that's irrelevant right now. Now, this is the HMON right here. This was the 6Z. This was at 1 a.m. This thing made landfall pretty much around 3:30 p.m. Moved through the Dominican Republic. It's continuing to organize, continuing to develop. It's intensifying right there. The pressure's dropping to 951 millibars, 943 right there, down to 939 millibars. And then it kind of stagnates for a little bit. Likely undergoes an eyeball replacement cycle right here. And then as we take a look at this, it's approaching Bermuda. Bermuda is definitely going to see hurricane force winds according to the HMON. And then this thing moves further up to the north, basically at Newfoundland. At 5 days out, it's not quite there. It moves a little slower than these other model runs. The HWRF, though, we're going to have to take a look at this. The HWRF is generally the more aggressive model run. But considering how this thing has been playing out, it's not that much of a surprise, and I've been paying more attention to this. The HWRF has this thing moving further to the east from the Turks and Caicos right here, and then it continues to organize, develop, strengthen around 942 millibars right there. And then it basically approaches Bermuda right there. Bermuda is probably going to be under a hurricane warning in the next few days or so. And then this moves through towards Newfoundland right there, makes landfall as such, and that's pretty much where we're at right now. If you are in Puerto Rico, if you are in the Dominican Republic, turn around, don't drown. If there is still flooding going on, there is a lot of flooding still going on. Move to higher ground as soon as you can, because this thing is far from over, folks. And a lot of people were shocked that this thing was as strong as it got. Well, it had some stuff working against it, but it had a lot more working for it. So, and I want to emphasize this real quickly. This was only it still is. This is only a Category 1 hurricane. It's causing a ton of flooding, a ton of damage. It goes to show that even a Category 1 hurricane, even a tropical storm, if you have it sitting over one area for long enough, it can cause major problems, ladies and gentlemen. So, with that being said, we're going to go ahead and end this video right here. Stay safe, everybody.